One of the cultivators flew out of the ranks and asked politely, "May I know my lord's name and a reason for blocking our way?" The swordsman slowly turned around. His sharp-featured face was smiling, but there was a strange feeling in that smile, vague and hard to explain. With his arms crossed, he spoke like a gentleman. "I'm sorry." "Oh, so it is a misunderstanding. All right, then." The cultivator cupped his fist and said, "Farewell." Unfortunately, the swordsman did not get out of the way. He still wore the same smile while looking at the chariot and the group of cultivators. "I'm sorry," he said the second time, and the atmosphere grew bizarre. Then the black-clad cultivators saw the sword on his back float up as streams of energy flowed out of his body to surround the blade. At the sight of it, the cultivator who flew out to speak widened his eyes and cried out, "Sword devil, abandon the chariot and run for your life." The black-clad cultivators moved as fast as lightning in all directions. However, the sword glowed with faint red light split into 2, 4, and then 8, each shooting toward one cultivator. A rain of swords pierced the group of cultivators as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The swordsman still wore the same smile and crossed his arms over his chest. After his sword left him, he had stopped looking at those cultivators. "I'm sorry," he said the third time. After that, his figure swayed and disappeared. Meanwhile, in the great hall of Evil Sky Pavilion, when he saw that his master seemed to be thinking about something, Ming-Sher-In bowed and said, "Master, the cultivators of Fiend Temple have retreated. What should we do with a group of female cultivators from Derived Moon Palace?" He was unsure of his master's thinking now. If it were in the past, the punishment would be death, because their leader, Yi Qianxin, had deserted the sect and betrayed the master. Anyhow, Lu Zhou did not answer his question immediately, but turned to look at little Yuan. The little girl was innocent and simple, but she would come out with dangerous thoughts at times. So he wanted to test her. "What do you think we should do to them, Yuan?" "Ah." For a moment, little Yuan was at a loss, and then she said in a low voice, "Why don't we just kill them all?" Cough, cough. Ming-Sher-In coughed and glanced guiltily at his little junior sister. Lu Zhou shook his head and tapped her on the head with his hand. "I know, master. I'll set them free now," said little Yuan while smiling. "When did I say I would let them go?" Ugh. At this point, Ming-Sher-In cupped his fist and said, "Master, recently I have found that many parts in Evil Sky Pavilion have broken down, and many places need to be cleaned up and fixed as well. Why don't we make them slaves and work for us?" Lu Zhou glanced at him and considered the idea. "What's on this guy's mind? He makes it sound as if I am the black-hearted supervisor in an illegal factory instead of his master. However, it is actually a good idea. Fine, make them repair the Evil Sky Pavilion. When they are done, put them in the Cave of Reflection, so they will suffer together with Yi Qianxin." Lu Zhou said, "This disciple will obey master's order." As if he had thought of something, Ming-Sher-In summoned his courage and asked, "Master, now that we have decided the punishment for the whole Derived Moon Palace, do you think that we should... Well, Yi Qianxin's cultivation base is destroyed, and the Cave of Reflection is cold. I'm worried that she might die after being locked up in there for too long." Lu Zhou raised a hand and interrupted him. "Do you sympathize with her?" "No, I dare not." Ming-Sher-In got scared. Yi Qianxin must be sternly punished for deserting the sect and betraying master. She deserves it. I have my plans. "I understand, master." Ming-Sher-In dared not to mention anything about Yi Qianxin again as he turned and left the great hall. After walking out of Evil Sky Pavilion, he took a deep breath and thought, luckily, it was little junior sister who answered the question. Master's thinking is getting harder to predict now. When he thought of Xin Chan's miserable ending, he shook his head and decided that he would not be so aggressive in the future. "Master, I'll take my leave now to heal my injury," said Duan Wushang, after he saw Ming-Sher-In walk out the great hall. "Hold on." Lu Zhou slowly rose to his feet and came in front of Duan Wushang as he rested his eyes on the chain. Made 1,000 years old cold iron, the chain was impossible to be destroyed by ordinary weapons. It could only be broken with heaven-grade weapons. However, Zhou did not have a heaven-grade weapon he could use now, and he only had 2 deadly strike cards. The question was, could the card be used on a chain? Would it pulverize Duan Musheng together? Duan Musheng was overjoyed when he saw his master focus on the chain. He bowed and said, "Master, under your mighty power, this chain is like a pile of scrap metal or a sheet of paper." Liu Yuan hopped over and touched the cold chain with her hand. She saw a row of tiny characters, and she read, "Heavenly Sword Sect." Upon hearing that, Zhou Jifeng hurriedly fell on one knee and said, This has nothing to do with me." Duan Musheng glanced at him and said, "Don't worry. Master can effortlessly destroy 10 or even 100 chains like this, let alone just one." When he was done looking at the chain, Zhou wore the same calm expression that hid all his thoughts. Then he clasped his hands behind his back as he turned around and said, "Yuan, help me back to my chamber." "Oh!" Duan Musheng. Even after Zhou and Liu Yuan were long gone, Duan Musheng still could not figure out what he had said wrong. Zhou Jifeng got up to his feet and said somewhat embarrassingly, "Mr. Third, this chain, I really can't break it." "Me neither," Pan Zhong said. "Get out of my sight." "Aye." Both men scurried out of Evil Sky Pavilion. Duan Musheng scratched his head. He wondered if his master was trying to give him some hints after watching him block many of Zhuo Chan's blows with the chain just now? Or was he trying to tell him that wearing the chain was beneficial for his cultivation base? Master is a man of great wisdom. I'd better stop guessing his thoughts, he thought. Yes, that must be it. Well, I'll just wear the chain for the time being. In the great hall of the Fiend Temple, my lord, Deputy Chief was killed during his visit to Golden Court Mountain. Our men found his ink-colored dragon chariot some 80 miles north in the mountain, together with 150 bodies, who were his men. The man thought the chief would fly into a rage after hearing the report, but the latter did not. Deputy Chief had struck a deal with Clarity Sect for this operation of suppressing Golden Court Mountain, and he was even backed by His Majesty. And yet that old villain... Shut up! The chief's deep voice exploded in the man's ear like thunder, making him slump to the ground with fear and turning his face pale. Please calm down, my lord. Inform those old men in the Clarity Sect that I will not get angry because of this and will not take it to heart. The cooperation between Fiend Temple and Clarity Sect will remain the same. However, I hope they can show us some sincerity. Yes, my lord. There's one more report. Tell me. 2 experts of the Clarity Sect were badly wounded in a practice fight with Sword Freak yesterday. I'm afraid that they can't meet my lord today. Get out of here. His thunderous voice sent the man running out of the great hall in panic and fear while cracking the chairs placed to his left and right. When I have completed my cultivation of the divine technique, I'll kill that old villain myself. Zhou did not care what the Fiend Temple thought, nor did he need to care. According to the situation at that time, no one in Evil Sky Pavilion could resist Zhuo Chan. It would be fine if he had only wanted to show off his prowess with the female cultivators of Derived Moon Palace as an excuse, but he had gone too far by challenging the villainous Patriarch. If he did not seek death, he would not have died. It was only a matter of time before Zhou struck, and he did not have the time or need to think if Zhuo Chan were backed by some powers or if there were any schemes. Zhou glanced at the 2,690 merit points on the system panel. He knew that he was down on luck, so after using the reversal card he got from the last lucky draw and adding 300 days to his remaining life, he threw the thought of drawing another prize out of his mind. He needed to focus on his cultivation base, because it was a foundation. After that, he purchased another deadly strike card and saved the rest of the points so that he could buy a higher level avatar later. Completing tasks is still the best way to get merit points, and the disciples are the main force to do that for me. Zhou thought of his 6th disciple, Yi Qianxin, the disciple who hated him. If he were still Ji Tiandao, he would have killed the treacherous disciple. However, he was not the other, and he did not choose to do that. What is her problem? He was lost in thought. The answer lay within the missing memory. Zhou frowned slightly. He had thought that it was just a temporary symptom caused by the dimension travel, and that he would recall all the memories soon. However, in recent days, he had basically gained full control over the body, and yet those missing memories did not come back to him. After recalling for a very long time and getting himself nothing but dizziness, he simply gave up searching the memory. Well, if I can't recall anything, that means this is her fate. Zhou put a stop to all distracting thoughts and began to study the heaven writing again. Ming-Sher-In paced back and forth in the cave of reflection, shaking his head and sighing from time to time when he saw Yi Qianxin's face, which was growing paler and paler. I've told you that derived Moon Palace would be struck by this calamity. Had it not been because of Master, your subordinates would have died by now, Ming-Sher-In said, leaning her back against the cold stone wall. Yi Qianxin said unconvincingly, "They are merely mean creatures who take advantage of others in a helpless situation. If I were with them, Zhuo would not have the chance to hurt them. Be that as it may, what about the Yun, Tian, and Luo sects? You may be stronger than Zhuo, but can you resist their wrath?" Ming-Sher-In asked. Yi Qianxin was speechless. There were many experts in the 3 sects in the southern region of Great Yan, which made them much stronger than many sects, including hers. "Tianxin, I can't help you much," Ming-Sher-In sighed. "I thought Master would fear Fiend Temple and give him the whole derived Moon Palace, but..." He paused and chuckled before continuing. "Master turns Zhuo into ashes with just one move." "One move?" "Yes, you heard me right. Moreover, the move was the Zen teaching's great seal of fearless. Is he not afraid of offending the Fiend Temple? Those hiding behind it are not just a few evil cultivators." "I've thought about that too. Junior Sister Qianxin, you are still too young," Ming-Sher-In said nonchalantly. "What do you mean?" "Everything is under Master control," Ming-Sher-In said while nodding. For a moment, Yi Qianxin was silent, and then she said, "No matter what, I'll remember senior brother's kindness." No sooner had she finished that than she began to cough violently. Ming-Sher-In frowned and bent over her, gathering some energy in his finger and pointing it at her acupoints. That alleviated her coughing, but her face grew paler. "Your hair." Ming-Sher-In noticed the silver in her black hair. "Leave me alone. With my cultivation base destroyed, I can no longer replenish the energy in my dantian. It is only a matter of time before I start decaying." Yi Qianxin said indifferently, "Listen to me. You should ask Master for forgiveness. Maybe he will save your life after considering the connection that ties you as master and disciple," Ming-Sher-In exhorted. Yi Qianxin shook her head, fighting back the pain in her body. She looked up at Ming-Sher-In and said, "Senior brother, have you ever wondered why eldest and second senior brothers left?" "I don't know, and I don't want to know," Ming-Sher-In said, while shaking his head. When he saw that Yi Qianxin was about to say some more, he waved his hand and said, "I'll leave you here to reflect on yourself. Tell me when you have thought it over, and I will intercede with Master to let you out." When he had finished, he blinked and disappeared from a cave, not giving Yi Qianxin the chance to talk to him again. Outside the cave of reflection, he took a deep breath and murmured in a low voice, "I'm not like you all. I still respect Master very much." With his hands clasped behind his back, he started toward the back of the mountain. To return to Evil Sky Pavilion from the cave of reflection, one must pass through the back of the mountain. The place was clean, quiet, and empty, very suitable for training. Ming-Sher-In saw Panzhong and Zhou Jifeng training there as he passed. He had thought of giving them some advice, but when he recalled what happened between them in the past, he gave up the idea. "Please wait a moment, Mr. Forth," Panzhong suddenly called out. "What do you want?" Ming-Sher-In asked suspiciously. While bowing, Panzhong said, "I wonder if Mr. Forth can help me with one thing." "No." Ming-Sher-In turned to leave. "Panzhong." At any other time, Panzhong would not dare to stop Ming-Sher-In from leaving, but he had a very important thing that needed help with. So he summoned his courage and said, "Please listen to me, Mr. Forth. The chill in my body is at its peak recently, and it is killing me. If this were to continue, I'm afraid I can't last for 3 months. Lord Pavilion promised me that he will give me the 6-yang technique. I hope Mr. Forth can help me." His confidence grew weaker as he said, That's all. Mingshi Yin glared at him. Yes. Since Master had promised you, he will not go back on his word. 3 months is a long way to go. There are many people out there who fall asleep without knowing if they can see the next day's sun. After leaving the rather emotional remark, Mingshi Yin blinked and disappeared. Pan Zhong looked puzzled. Meanwhile, Zhou Jifeng put away his sword as he shook his head and said, I've told you that although Mr. Fourth looks kind, there are always hidden barbs in his words. I suggest you talk to Mr. Ninth. She is innocent, simple, and kind, and Lord Pavilion dotes on her. I'm sure she will help you if you talk nicely to her. That makes sense. Pan Zhong nodded. After reading the Heaven writing 3 more times, Lu Zhou found that it had not changed except for the 2 additional lines of characters. Comprehending them was a very boring and tedious job, so he closed the interface after a while. Master, little Yuaner's voice came from outside. Come in. The little girl hopped in from outside and said happily, Master, I got information about senior sister Zhao. Tell me about it. Zhao had not come back since she finished the task Lu Zhou gave her last time, and he had not been able to figure out why. The reason for her desertion should be different from that of Yi Tianxin, Yu Zhenghai, and Yu Shangrong, and it should not be too complicated either. Senior sister could be in Yu Province, said little Yuaner as she sat down on a chair. She poured herself a cup of water and took a sip, breathing a sigh of relief before continuing. I guess that when someone in the station mentioned the brilliant jade technique. Lu Zhou did not understand it. Orthodox sects and evil sects had always been at daggers drawn. Why would they mix now? Were they going to have a war against each other? He had used all his peak form experience cards. If he fell into another trap, he would be finished for sure. Reflexively, he opened the system panel and glanced at the task field. Sure enough, there was a new task. Bring Zhao Yu back. What else have you heard? Some said senior sister is about to get married, and she will be a holy daughter. That gave Lu Zhou a pause. Zhao Yu's cultivation base largely came from the brilliant jade technique. The jade in its name referred to the essence of heaven and earth, the product of Mother Nature. If she were to cultivate it to the peak, she could not have disturbing thoughts or indulge in a love affair. What's the reason? Lu Zhou asked. Little Yuaner shook her head and said with a puzzled look, I only heard that a grand ceremony will be held at the holy altar in Yu Province. A grand ceremony? By the way, it seems that Fiend Temple will also send someone to the ceremony, little Yuaner added. When she mentioned the name, she carefully looked at Lu Zhou's expression. Master, why don't I go by myself? I will bring senior sister back, and when I see anyone from Fiend Temple, I'll kill them all for you. Lu Zhou knocked her head with a hand and said, Don't cause trouble. Although I couldn't care less about Fiend Temple, its chief is a nascent divinity tribulation expert with a 7-leaf avatar after all. You are just a divine court cultivator. How are you going to fight when you see them? Oh! Little Yuaner nodded. Lu Zhou searched his memory and pondered for a brief moment before asking, Besides Fiend Temple, what other powers will attend? The Righteous Sect and the Clarity Sect seem to be going too. Bring Pan Zhong to me. I have something to ask him. Master, you could just ask me. Little Yuaner said confidently, Go now. Lu Zhou raised his voice a little. Oh! With her lips pursed. The little girl ran away. Before very long. She came back with Pan Zhong, who looked listless and with bruises on his face. Greetings, my lord. Pan Zhong cupped his fist and bowed. Lu Zhou glanced at him and asked, What happened to your face? There are too many steep places on Golden Court Mountain, and I accidentally fell off one. Pan Zhong hurriedly explained. Lu Zhou did not care about how he got himself hurt. You are from Clarity Sect. Do you know anything about the grand ceremony at the holy altar? Pan Zhong nodded and said, Yes, it's a long story to tell. Then make it a short one and tell it quickly, little Yuaner urged. Pan Zhong shivered at the thought of the violent beating he had just received, and he quickly said, Since the human race drove the alien races to Rongbei and Rongxi, the righteous sects and evil sects in the cultivation world are at daggers drawn. Every year, there are numerous disputes between sects, resulting in countless casualties. To ease the conflicts, some small sects have come up with the idea of holding grand ceremonies. On the one hand, it is to ease a conflict between sects, and on the other, it is also to give them a chance to show kindness to each other, so as to not aggravate the dispute. Zhou nodded and said, "Do you know that Clarity sect is going to grand ceremony in your province?" "That's a prize, Panjong. I don't know anything about it, as I left the sect 3 years ago. The Clarity sect is considered a major righteous sect, and I don't think its conflict with the evil sects can be resolved with such a lesser ceremony." Zhou got a rough idea of everything now. It is said that a holy daughter will serve as a bridge to reconcile the conflict between both sides. Is there such a thing? Yes, that is true, and the holy daughter will strengthen the bridge with marriage. No matter how slow-witted little Yuana was, she understood now. Her eyes went wide, and she said angrily, "Traitor, how could she do this?" There was no need to ask any further questions. Zhou waved his hand and said, "You may leave us now." "Old senior." Panjong wanted to say something, but he hesitated. "What do you want?"